A wonderful Saturday morning to you as we discuss Morbius. We just got the numbers here, and I'll be honest with you, not as good as I was hoping for. I think Sony is probably not that excited about these numbers. 17.1 million on Friday, which when you do the multiple and you do all the figures and extrapolate the number, you're looking at about 40, low 40s for the weekend, which is, again, not as high as they wanted. Now, there is some discussion about Morbius, people saying, well, Sony thought it was only going to be 33 million or whatever the number was, 32, whatever they put out there. That was a low ball figure. The real low end of where this film should be right now is in the low 40s, and it is going to be there, but that's the low. So we really wanted to see this thing closer to, 50, obviously 60. You want to get up to Venom numbers. We knew that wasn't going to happen. But I still think that when this movie was moved from January to, as we know, April now, late January, right after No Way Home, with all that excitement of people going to see the film and wanting to see more and more Spider-Man, and they move it out of there. Sony does. I think Sony knew this film was not great. Is it, fantastic? No. Is this movie horrible? No. It's somewhere in the middle. It's very mediocre. Mediocre Morbius. And as such, it's not doing that great of a number. But I still think it does better in January. If they leave that thing alone at the end of January, what was that, like the 28th? And now you're talking about, moving it 3 months beyond, and people have kind of moved on from No Way Home. I wish that they had kept it there. That said, this is the kind of thing that's not going to be, we're not going to get a sequel out of this, not at these numbers. I mean, this is going to drop off a cliff, and the reason it's going to drop off a cliff is this. It has a C+ cinema score. Let's talk about this. There's some debate raging right now on Twitter about what is a good cinema score. Let me say this. C+ is not good for a cinema score. It's bad for a film like this, especially. For horror, you can get away with it. For a Marvel-ish movie, you really want to see this thing at a B or higher. I really thought it'd be at least a B, maybe even a B+, just because it doesn't have a downer ending. Anytime you have like a C+ or lower grade, usually you have some kind of ending where someone dies, especially in horror. If you see a really low grade in horror, it's because at the end of the film, the family bites it, like the remake of Pet Sematary. Whatever that is. Those movies are always going to get trashed when it comes to cinema score. But let's make this perfectly clear. C+ is wretched for a big, wide, mainstream movie here like Morbius. This is not good. There's no other way to spin it. So what that means is going forward, the legs. When people talk about these films, they go and they say, hey, I recommend you go see Morbius. That's what you're looking for when you look at that cinema score. And when you see C+, that tells me that people are not going out there and saying, go see Morbius. They're going to say the opposite. Stay away from this movie. C+ is bad word of mouth. It's just not a good grade. There's no other way to put it. So again, when we look at this, the debut weekend should be right around 40 million, which is, again, on the low end. Regardless of what Sony put out there as its projected number for this weekend, it is not a great number for this film. I don't think we're going to get a sequel out of this. I don't think you're surprised about that. You're going to see Leto, Morbius, get absorbed into Sinister Six, whatever they're going to do next, but it's not going to be Morbius 2. I just don't see it happening with this number. And next weekend, you've got Sonic coming, and Sonic is going to absolutely slay. There has not been a family film in the multiplex since Encanto, Sing 2. It's the last time you had a legitimate family movie at the multiplex, and when you don't have that for a long time, you are going to get a huge pop for the next film. We talk about it all the time when it comes to box office. You want to be in a position when you release your film where people are like, we really want to see a movie. We are so excited. There's been nothing for weeks. And when there's that void, like there has been for the family void, then that means that Sonic 2 is going to pop a really strong number next weekend. Do not be surprised when that happens. That's going to be huge. Here's some comments here. C+ cinema score, just like we said, really bad. Not a good cinema score. No other way to go ahead and spin that. There just isn't. That is really bad. And what that basically means is, again, here, general audience may want continuity, makes sense with MCU. This film really, I will say this about this film, it doesn't feel like a CBM, does it? It just feels like a film about dude who turns into Vampire Man, Batman, Okay, it doesn't feel like a CBM until we get to those end credit scenes, and even those aren't great. But at least then it feels like it's part of some form of the MCU when we have Michael Keaton show up. But until that point, you're like, is this really an MCU movie? Is this really a CBM? Because it doesn't feel like it. If you're not familiar with the character, that's going to be an issue. I really hope Sonic outperforms. It's going to be. The first one did really well, and the second one's going to do really well as well. Paramount is on to making films for families. They do it so well. They just did it with Clifford. They did it with Dora. They did it with Sonic, as we know. They know how to make these family films and make them fun, energetic, and generally loved by audiences, and that is a good combination when you're really coming up with films for families. And these guys, Paramount, whoever's over there running the show, when it comes to these family films, they're nailing it. So look for Sonic, do the same thing. It's going to pop a big number. But again, you know, when we look at this Morbius, and again, we're just going to keep this tight. Every Saturday, Sunday, talk about box office, just general thoughts of this. And again, a $40 million weekend for Morbius is on the low end of things, whatever someone tells you. And a C+ cinema score is troubling. That is the best way to put it. That's the nicest way to put it. It's crappy. Okay? It's not a good cinema score. So good luck going forward, Morbius. We want to see films succeed in the multiplex. Hopefully we'll get that to happen with Sonic 2. I don't think that's going to be any question whatsoever. And going forward, Doctor Strange 2, you've got a bunch of films that are headed in the next several weeks that are going to kill it. This one didn't quite get there, but again, 40 million is not a total bomb. If this thing was at 20, that would be having a major issue. But 40 is manageable. You know, Sony will lick its wounds and move on to their next film. But I don't think we're going to get Morbius 2. Guys, thanks for tuning in here on this Saturday morning. We'll do it again tomorrow when we get the actual number. I imagine it's going to be about 41 million for Morbius for the weekend. We'll talk again. Like, subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your Saturday. We'll talk again soon.